In video 1 of Azure Functions, we created a basic HTTP trigger and we used Postman to be able to query, and it was triggered where we had a query string of a name or the body of a JSON string that contained the name parameter, and we returned with hello then with that name. But we need to take it just a notch higher and be able to use Azure Functions and trigger them via Business Central. And that was basically the target. And try to do a little bit something fancy. And what we'll do today is be able to use the example of Microsoft Learn and grayscale an image. So let's try and get started.
Hii ni Tech na Msangi ya jishinde.com.
So this is an Azure function. So we covered creating an Azure function and the different types of triggers, the options that we have. So you can look at video 1 if you haven't, because this is a continuation. It's not going back to those basics. So in this video, we will look at what is needed of us to create. So before we go to when you're creating an Azure function, first of all, we need to enable .NET Interoperability, and we are leveraging this image processor, which is a NuGet package and a .NET NuGet package, which has a dependency to the system.value tuple. And we can see that it's being used, of course. So the first step is to create a Visual Studio project, so that a class library project, .NET class library project, which we can use. This class library project is a project that we will basically generate for us a DLL. And the DLL file is the one that we'll be able to upload to our source code manager on our Azure function. And by adding .scm just in front of Azure website, so our function app name, which was Yaleo, then .scm.azure websites.net, then we can be able to go to the debug console cmd, and so that's where we'll upload our .NET files. And basically, so this is uploaded under the www root, which we can reference. So similar to how we use a website, like when we are uploading to a website, we upload our files to www root and we are able to access them. So this SCM is source code manager for Azure Functions, is where our DLL will be placed. So this is the location when you use Yaleo. This is the function that we created, yaleo.scm.azurewebsites.net. So my two DLLs, the black and white image DLL, is a class library implementation, a Visual Studio class library implementation of this functionality here. And the first step is basically to run it on Visual Studio, or have this function create a class library project, a .NET class library project in Visual Studio, and you're able to now make sure that that .NET library project runs successfully. That is what I did. After that, I was able now to upload them to my Azure function, which is now yaleo.scm.azurewebsites.net. And the location basically is here. So when you go to your debug console, it will basically be able to give you that location. If you look at the CMD, you can also be able to see that particular location. So when you go to site, then you go to www root, then you go to my function is ya kwanza. So at this point here, you can be able to create a new folder bin and place your DLLs there. But the R syntax regardless of the location of DLL, you can be able to reference it there. But I'd prefer it to be inside the function because you can point it, and we can look at the location here, and this is the location of our function. Once we have our DLL, the next step is now to have this code for our Azure function. So this is the code that will run. We are replacing the original code that was created, and it was here under the code plus test in our Azure function, and we'll paste the code, that the newly created code, from this side. And in our new code, let's go to the bin folder, and we can see that we are in the bin folder, and we have two DLLs. One is black and white image.dll, and the second is image processor.dll. So this is our location, C, home, site, and all that. So we have pasted our code. We need to use the R syntax. So let's look at this. When the .NET files are uploaded, you can use them in your Azure function. So we need to use the special R syntax, and it's used to reference external assemblies. And in our special R syntax, we'll paste our first link. I think it was up to here. That is the link to the bin folder. And our DLL is black and white image.dll. That is how I named my project. Then we can still do the same, paste everything up to the bin. The reason why you can see the example is using a different location, so make sure you have the location that has been generated by your Azure function. And here I think it retains to have the name image processor.dll, because the NuGet package, once I was able to compile, it generated this image processor.dll. All right, so we are leveraging an image processor, which is a function well done by the .NET library to be able to grayscale our image. So whatever we'll do today is grayscale the image. And as much as we are concerned here, we are more or less done with our function. Okay, I think everything is okay. So the next step would be to go to the next step of our AL programming, and now make an HTTP request to our function. So the example here is using an item, but let's use a customer and grayscale the customer. All right. So here we have copied the item, and we'd like to modify it to use the customer. So I have created a page extension to the customer. So the first thing will be to change the reference to customer, and here we'll have cast. So we're saying change to black and white picture. You can call it image because the customer uses an image. All right, so now if customer dot image dot count is greater than 0, but remember the image uses a media. For the item, it uses a media set, and the media set has count because a media set can contain more than one image. But here, so we'll say if the customer does not have a value, then we exit. There's no need of we are leveraging lazy loading. If there is no value in the customer, we exit and we move on to the next. And then, so the other thing is if the customer dot image dot so the tenant media uses it gets a value based on the primary key, and if we hover here we can see that the ID is a GUID, so we need a GUID here. Boom boom boom. So we say dot media ID, which generates a GUID. So if we are not able to get this, then we exit as well. Then we can be able to calculate the content. If there is no value, we exit. Then we create an in-stream object to enable us to read from the blob image. So once we read, we can be able to write from the content that we have just read from the in-stream. Then the next step is to have our URL, and our URL is at this point where we'll say get the function URL. And I wonder why it's hidden somewhere. Copy the function URL. Once we copy the function URL, we'll paste it here. So we paste the function URL from there. So that's the function URL. We have got it and we have pasted it. Okay, something is not displayed well. I believe we should have a semicolon at the end of this, and it is there. I don't know why it's not displaying the right thing. Anyway, the function URL is there. Okay, let's proceed. So, and then we make a post request for this URL. We pass the content which we have written it from the stream that we were able to create from the tenant media. Then we get the response message. We confirm if it's a success code, and then we read the response into the stream, and then we clear the image, which will be customer.image, and then we basically now import the stream from the image and modify the customer. So, and then we say done, or we have successfully modified the customer and grayscale the customer picture, the customer image. So let's compile and be able to run and see how our fancy function is operating. We are publishing to our sandbox. Okay, so before we publish, we have not called this image. So we need to add our actions on this side. And we need an action that will be added after the, I think, processing or home. Process. Category process, that is home. And we'll have our action that will say, so if we trigger this action, we'll basically be able to change this image passing in the rec. So when we are calling it here, just need to say that the image is modify or move down, and the action name is grayscale the image. Then we'll basically have it promoted, and let's have it let it be a big promotion so that it can display well. And tooltip we have the image, we have the promoted category. It should be category, should be process, I think. Yeah. Then there's some red wait, the action type action is not allowed in the area promoted. Okay, let me use this. The area that it was added after was wrong. So we have our grayscale image here. After the customer change this, then we can just have confirm sure to grayscale image. So if the user selects, if they do not select, we exit, because let's not grayscale an image if the user is not sure. We'll republish again after building because we didn't have an action, and then we try and grayscale our image and have our breakpoint running so that we can monitor and see what is happening real time. All right, let's run. Believe it's running. It's not, it is. Run again. Sending a request. You should have sent the request already. There is our request, and we have it here on the right side. All right. So here is our customer, and we have this button of grayscale image. So let's grayscale tray research, and we should see it on this side. Sure to grayscale the image. Maybe we can add something here if we wanted. Let's say yes. And we are going into the debugger. We can step into it and step over. So if it doesn't have a value, we exit. Then we are able to confirm if we can get the tenant media. Then we calc fields. Then we confirm if it has value. We create an in stream. Then we write the content, the HTTP content with a stream. We write it from the stream, which we were able to read. We make a post request, and we confirm if the status code is success, and we got a success code. So if we don't get any success, we can load. Maybe this is the basic way of displaying it, but maybe we can have messages here before the exit to be specific if we wanted to be. Then we clear the image of the customer, we import the stream, modify, and done. So let's see, how is it displayed now? Continue. Oh, tray research is grayscaled. One more. This guy needs to be grayscaled. Let's grayscale him. Yes, and here we'll continue this time. Come back. Wow. So this is the power of Azure Functions. We implement a very complex functionality that is easy to implement in other languages, but kind of not as easy in Business Central. We make an HTTP request, and then we are able to get the result in Business Central in a very brilliant way. And so that's it for this video on uh, Azure Functions. So this is the second, and it could be the last on the series of Azure Functions. But if we have any other thing that we get that we need to add on Azure Functions, we can be able to add it on this series, even if not immediately. And I will see you in the next series or the next video. May God bless you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one.